First, we start with the Mesopotamians that lived around 4000 BC. They made early calendars and made great strides in astronomy by making the ziggurat, which they used as an observatory to see stars and planetary bodies. The Egyptians lived in the same time as the Mesopotamians. They also made great contributions to astronomy. They created a calendar to figure out when the Nile was supposed to flood, and they also aligned their pyramids with the stars. Stonehenge was a prehistoric monument that was used to predict eclipses by the pillars. This monument was built in 3100 BC and took an extraordinary amount of work. In 1200 BC, the Chinese made some of the most important documentations, like recording 900 solar eclipses and around 600 lunar eclipses, and every sighting of Halley's Comet. In 625 BC, Thales was the first person to use the Little Dipper as a navigational aid. He also predicted a total solar eclipse. In 582 BC, Pythagoras developed an astronomical system that says that the Earth, Moon, Sun, and planets revolve around essential fire. In 500 BC, the Babylonians created a method for predicting positions of the planets, and they also observed patterns of the moon. In 384 to 322 BC, Aristotle discovered that all celestial motions must be circular because they're the only shape that can repeat forever. He also supported the claim that all falling objects move towards the center of the Earth. In 310 BC, Aristarchus applied geometry with astronomy. He could configure how far apart the planets are using geometry. He also made a heliocentric model of the universe. In 245 BC, the Eratosthenes used geometry to calculate the size of the Earth, and found out that the distance from Syene to Alexandria is 1/50th of the circumference of the Earth. Mayan monuments and buildings were aligned to the position of the sunrise and sunset at the equinoxes and solstices. The calendars kept up with the setting and rising of Venus. In 127 AD, Ptolemy created a system that accurately accounted for the motions of the planets using retrograde motion. In 600 AD, Middle Eastern civilizations made more accurate observations and calculations than Ptolemy's work. Muslims built on their sciences by translating Greek and Indian documents into Arabic. They also named the stars. In 1473, Copernicus was the first to fully develop a heliocentric model of the solar system. He also believed that all orbits were perfect circles. In 1546, Brahe opposed the heliocentric model. He also used larger metal tools, and he wrote a book. In 1564, Galileo perfected the telescope. He realized that the moon had craters and mountains. He also proved the heliocentric model, and upon that, he made an observation that Jupiter had moons. In 1571, Kepler made laws of planetary motion. The first law stated that the orbit of a planet is an ellipse with the sun at one of the two foci. The second law stated a line segment joining a planet and the sun sweeps out equal areas during equal intervals of time. And the third states the square of an orbital period of a planet is proportional to the cube of the semi-major axis of its orbit. In 1643, Newton discovered laws of gravity. Newton's first law says that every object persists in its state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line unless it is compelled to change that state by force presses on it. His second law says that force, acceleration, momentum, and velocity are all vector quantities. And his third law states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. In 1656, Edmund Halley found out that comets are reoccurring and made a formula to find a comet again, known as Halley's Comet. In 1905, Einstein created the theory of special relativity. The speed of light is always the same, mass can warp spacetime, and photoelectric effect. In 1913, Bohr made a model of the atom. The atom was laid out like the solar system. In 1923, Pauli discovered the exclusion principle, which states that all particles spin. In 1927, Heisenberg made an uncertainty principle, which states that you cannot know the speed and location of a subatomic particle. In 1929, Hubble created a law that light has a Doppler effect. He also believed in the expanding universe, and that there were more galaxies than just beyond the Milky Way. In 1929, Lemaitre created the Big Bang Theory, which explains what happened after the universe was created. In 1939, Oppenheimer was part of the Manhattan Project. He created and detonated the first atomic bomb. Then after that, he studied black holes and neutron stars. In 1957, Hoyle hated the Big Bang Theory. He believed in something else called the steady-state theory, and believed that everything started as hydrogen. In 1964, Penzias and Wilson created the cosmic background radiation theory. In 1969, Armstrong and Aldrin on the Apollo 11 were the first and second people to ever land on the moon.